Well, folks, here we are, we're back again. So this section now is the analysis section. This is, in some ways, this can be the most important section of the case study, because in the analysis section, obviously, you're now taking the facts, you're taking the issue that you laid out at the outset. You've done your research on it, and now you're going to tell the reader this is where, based on your educational analysis of the situation, where they should go in terms of their future action. So let's look at this. So the analysis section, obviously the first thing is you got to perform your research. Now, some notes on this. I'm old-fashioned. Some people can save stuff on the computer, and that's good. That's fine. Save a tree. I'm old-fashioned. I like to print them out. Later on, after you've done your research, there's going to come a point in time where you're going to have to cite to it, right? Because we said that at the outset, you got to cite your references, either that they were reviewed or they cited in the document or whatever. So it's very important. When you get a reference, you say, hey, this is good. Write down where you found it so that you can do it, the bibliography later on. Okay? It sounds corny, but I can't tell you the number of times in my own career I found something, right? I went online, I found it, and then I forgot to write down where I found it. Okay? Or I had printed it out, and the printout wasn't the best in the West, and it doesn't have the date on it that I was looking at, or whatever. Okay? So when you find something good, just write down, you print it out or whatever, you print out the first page, or write on it, this is where I found it. Okay? So you know where to cite to it later on. Okay? Now, in the same way when we were talking about the facts, that you're always going to cite to a page where the fact is located, when you're telling me or any other reader, this is the research, that research by Professor X said, blah, 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 okay? You always want to have a citation on it. There's no exceptions, okay? So this is not your thought process in action. It's where you're telling me this is what this professor came up with, okay? Or this is what a CEO in another situation did. Clearly, you found out about that from someplace, because it's not from your own experience, right? So you always want to have a citation on it. This is when people get in trouble on plagiarism. They're pulling facts or they're pulling analysis from other people, and they don't want to tell you that the other guy did it. They want to look like they're geniuses. And they get in trouble, okay? You actually look like a bigger genius when you're able to say, you know what? This guy over here came up with this idea. And the thought there is the following. You're going to be a genius because you know why? You're standing on the shoulders of a genius. You can see further because you stand on their shoulders. That's what Isaac Newton once said, okay? So, okay, in our case, it's great to find a good reference and then to cite to it, okay? So every sentence has a citation from now on. Now, after you lay out in the analysis section, right, because it's flowing from the facts, in the first section of the analysis, you say, this is the research I did and this is what I found. Okay? So for example, the relevant issue was carbon emissions, and you gave me all the information on carbon emissions, and then you said, I went to this reference that told me this about the carbon emissions, I went to this reference that told me about how they handle the situation in Europe, I went to this reference, and this is what President Obama said, I went to this reference, this is what President Trump wants to do, and I went to this reference. You're laying it all out. Okay? And then, right, what you're going to do is the next part of the analysis to say, okay, now that I've educated you, based on the facts, let's look at the situation. So you're applying the facts to whatever research you found. Now you're really educating me, right? Because in the analysis, you told me this is what I discovered about the law in our case, or the ethics of the situation. And then you're applying the facts to those, to that research. Okay? So the first section analysis, you tell me this is what the laws, these are what the ethical guidelines are. In the next section, you're going to apply what were the facts from the salient facts to the analysis. Okay? Now, this is just a practice tip. You can use it or not. Okay? What I found was the following. As I went along and I was doing my research, and this helps you focus your research a little bit, I would make a chart out. And on one side of the chart, this is my research. And on the other side, I would say these are my facts that go to that research. So for example, if you found out that carbon emissions hurt the environment, right? And I've got a fact that says that, okay? Put that fact down. If you said, it was the established policy of the Obama administration to do X, Y, and Z, Maybe you got a fact, you can put that in there too. Okay? It is a new policy now, the Trump administration do whatever, you know, a little fact that you put there. Okay? The idea of this is the following. You've got to do the analysis anyway, right? As you do your research, you now know, okay, this research is relevant because I'm able to relate it to a fact that I determined to be important. Okay? So in your own mind, so to speak, you're already focusing your research where it is most important that it be focused. Okay? And that's very important because now you don't go askew off to something that has, you know, no relevancy to the discussion at hand. Okay? So it's a simple tip. You just, as you go along, maybe you've even got on one side all the facts written down that are important. Now you're going to go and you're going to do your research that discusses those and that leads you to some given conclusion about how the issue should be resolved. Okay? So that's the analysis section. Now the last section is going to be the conclusion. Okay? And we'll be going over that. And then you've completed your paper. So let's do the conclusion next.